I'm gonna actually look at it. Hi, I'm Sana. Welcome back. I don't even know how to start this video, to be honest. I'm very excited to share with you that I'm publishing a book club journal. I'm gonna tell you how this came about, what it is, show you what it looks like. But first, here's a little clip that I filmed while I was filming my looking back at 2020 video, knowing that I couldn't tell you about it yet. I'm currently in the process of recording all of my 2021 goals, exciting things that happened in 2020 video. And there's one massive thing that I haven't been able to talk about, which is that I wrote a book. I was writing all my resolutions for 2021, and then I like to go back and kind of think, oh, what happened this year that I'm proud of? And there's smaller things and there are bigger things, and this was obviously one of the main things on the list. And again, something that I didn't know was going to happen at the beginning of 2020, and I find that very often the things that I'm the most excited about were things that I didn't even know were going to happen at the beginning of the year, because you can't really plan anything anyway, especially not in 2020. So just wanted to add this moment in. I'm going to start at the beginning and explain how this all came to be, and then I'll give you a look at the outside and the inside of the journal. In June of last year, I got an email from a publisher called Allison. Now my inbox, as is the case with many book reviewers and creators, is a very interesting mix of bizarre messages and projects that will never happen. But this message immediately caught my attention because Allison said they had come up with an idea for a guided journal specifically for people who are in book clubs, and they were basically looking for someone to write the text, come up with all the reading suggestions, and lend their expertise as a reader, and also someone who knows how to talk about books, and they really wanted to add a voice to it. At that point, it was basically just the beginning of the idea, and I said I'd love to take a call with her. So someone who's been making their own things on the internet for the last 10 years, I'm really used to having full creative control over everything. I never go into collaborations or contracts without being able to make sure that what I share is something that I'm really proud of. And having worked in publishing and knowing that depending on different kinds of projects, there would be different levels of input from an author. So very often an author doesn't have a lot of say, for example, in the cover of the book. So obviously it was really important to me that the final look and also the functionality, because it's a journal, would be something that I could really stand behind and that I would use myself as well. And of course I wanted it to appeal to you, people who watch my videos, but also people who would come across it in a bookshop. So we had more calls, conversations, contracts were signed, and then got to work. I knew I was going to be announcing this in January, and I wasn't sure if we would have an early copy, but I'm so excited that I actually have a physical copy to show you. And I think showing a flat image versus the real thing makes a huge difference. I'm really happy to have that for this video. All right, the big reveal, here we go. Here it is. Okay, so let me quickly talk you through what's inside, and I also have some clips that I filmed throughout the process of creating this. Beautiful cover. I really, really love the colors, and then there's a cloth bound sort of side and spine with some lovely silver foil, and then my handwritten Books and Quills logo here, and same on the spine. The idea of a guided journal is that, of course, the majority of it is a journal, but it also takes you on a journey. So there is an introduction from me, tips for how to get conversations going for your book club, how to host an online book club, some thoughts from me about whether you want to read up on the author or the book before you go into the book club discussion. And there are also 20 themed reading lists for if you need inspiration for your next book club pick. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. You might also have seen that I hosted a digital book club with some of you for The Secret History in the autumn. The people who were part of that book club, I told them that I was partly doing that for a project, which was this book club journal. But that was one of the things I did to kind of put the tips and tricks that I wrote about into action and see if they needed any adjustments. I just sent off the feedback for the book club journal design pages. I just wanted to show you, even though the battery's about to die, that I basically took the designs that we discussed, because I had sent over what different sections and stuff I would like, and then took them and then wrote notes on them, because I feel like that's the easiest way to do it. I filled it out myself, and I did it for The Secret History, especially because I read that with a book club recently, and then sent notes based on that. Very detailed notes. I find it really important that this is super user-friendly and that it applies to a bunch of different people and that it makes sense. I just want it to make sense. I also got to see another version of the cover today, which is really fun. Super happy with like even the initial sort of like quick mock-up that I got. I already felt like had the right atmosphere. We have to do some more color preference picking today. I think I'm gonna get edits in soon. So someone will have looked at it and then it comes back to me and then I look at it again. I'll see you in the next bit. So like I said, the majority of the book club journal consists of journaling pages where you can document every book that you're reading. So there's something similar to what you might document when you're doing this online. So, you know, how many pages the book has, what date you started reading, when you finished it, some space to put like the date of the book club and things like that. And then these journaling pages are also guided in a way where it kind of takes you through different steps of thinking about the book. So writing down your first impressions as you start reading, or your initial response right after finishing the book. There's a space to make notes about themes and characters, but then there's also a full page to write any questions for the book club or notes or anything else you'd like to write down. And then for each book you document, there's also a page to write down final thoughts, whether you'd like to reread it again, your rating, which I've left open, so it doesn't need to be a star rating if that's not what you're into. Further reading, pages to remember, and your favorite quotes. There's 50 entries of 4 pages each. So if you're doing, let's say, 1 book club a month or even 2, this should last you for a good while. Then in the back, we get to the section that I think was the most challenging. I had to come up with 20 themed reading lists with 10 books each. Coming up with the themes from scratch was interesting because I know what themes I'd want to share, but I also wanted to make sure it was accessible. But if you look at these, you'll definitely recognize some of my favorite themes. There's things like imagining the future, some, you know, dystopia, sci-fi, apocalyptic fiction, classics rewritten, coming of age. I am about to finish off the selection of books for the reading lists in the book club journal. And I realized I hadn't really filmed any of the process. I have written and rewritten these lists. I've shown them to friends. I've taken suggestions. I've done so much Googling. What I really wanted to make sure of was that all the recommendations in this book were ones that either I have read myself or that come highly recommended by people that I trust, because these are 200 book recommendations. I read a lot of books, but also a lot of the books I read I wouldn't recommend. So, you know, this is going far, far back in my reading history. So some of the books are also ones that I've, you know, picked up multiple times at bookshops because I'm interested in them. They're ones that I want to read. There's a few of the reading lists that immediately I just sat and just typed it in one go. There's ones that required a bit more research because I understand that not everyone wants to read apocalyptic fiction all the time. Originally I came up with 23 or 22 reading lists. We got it down to 20. And then yesterday I sat down with Rosanna and we were just like going through like title after title. So I have this extra list of books that I can kind of divide up over the different categories to make it all fit. There were some that I thought that maybe I would struggle with a little bit that actually were really easy to find titles for. Family stories and grief and breakups, interestingly. Rediscovering childhood favorites was hard because everyone obviously has different childhood favorites. This has been a really fun process, but by far these have been the hardest decisions to make, so I hope you like what comes out of it. I've basically decided that every time something happens that otherwise I would have wanted to share on like Instagram or put in a video, but I can't at the moment, I'm just gonna sit down and film a little bit. What I've really found with this process, and I've heard a lot of other people talk about this as well, that it doesn't feel like there is like a specific celebration moment. So it could be when you sign the contract, but when you're doing that, you're actually just kind of like worried about stuff and reading through it and checking with people. So that doesn't quite feel like the moment. And then maybe it's when you hand in the text, but when you hand in the text, you're awaiting feedback and it's going to go back and forth. So that isn't quite the moment. And when you initially like start talking about things on email, you just feel like it's not going to happen at all. So that isn't the moment either. It's currently November, and the reason I wanted to film now is that I think it's done. I've been given the final spreads of the book. I read through everything again. So last time I read the main text was probably about a month ago, and what I was most excited about is that I still liked it. I think the further you remove yourself from something you've written or something you've created, it starts feeling like it was like someone else that wrote it, because you forget specific phrases that you used, and some of it will seem really, really familiar and some of it will come as a little surprise. And I also did a last round of feedback on things like the borders that I used for the quotes and the illustrations, and a lot of it was very little things, just things to make it a little bit more me. So there were some bookmarks with polka dots on it, and I said, oh, maybe we can have some dried flowers on it instead. I felt like that was a little bit more me. So just adding those little details and then getting that back. And I think that is something that, to me personally, like makes all the difference. So the last thing that we were finalizing was the quote licensing. There's a lot of lovely quotes in there. I'm currently in the process of doing the final paperwork for those last few quotes. So I was just going about my day, doing some work, and then a package arrived and I unwrapped the outside of it. And I knew this was coming, but I didn't know it was coming this fast. And also it's kind of a surprise that I'm getting it ready for the announcement, which is happening in a few days. Basically, an advanced copy of the book just arrived and they've just sent it over to me. So this is the first time I'm gonna see it in its non-digital form. I had to go and like set up my filming stuff first before I could open it, so. Oh, dear Sana, here is the printer's advance. Thanks for your hard work and insights through the whole process. Looking forward to seeing your video. Now I'm gonna actually look at it. It's really pretty. Okay, it's bigger than I thought it was going to be, which is lovely. Okay. It's so lovely. Oh my gosh. It feels very nice. I'm gonna have to smell it, obviously. Yeah, that smells good. Fresh from the printer. It's really nice. So it's the first time I'm seeing like the illustrations in action and kind of the scale of it and everything. It comes with a ribbon bookmark, which I think I knew and then maybe forgot about. The color is so beautiful, and I think especially color is really hard to see digitally. Like if you've only seen a JPEG image before, you can always say, yes, I like it, but you never know like what it's gonna turn out like, and it's gorgeous. Oh my god, I'm so happy. I'm actually part of a few book clubs at the moment, and I want to start filling it out, but I feel like for now I should probably keep this the only copy that there is pristine. I want to see my photo in the book. Oh, there she is. There you go. In the back it has a reading wish list and a book loan tracker. Very important if you often borrow or lend books from friends. There's also a tracking log in the beginning where you can document all the books that you're journaling about. I should probably say when this is out. The book club journal will be out on May 6th. It's currently available for pre-order in a bunch of different places, including bookshop.org. I'll put a link in the description that has every pre-order link in it for different countries as well that are available at the moment, and then I will keep updating that link as new ones become available. But I would also highly recommend, if you're thinking of pre-ordering, call your local bookshop if they're currently taking orders, or email them and they should hopefully be able to do that as well. It's so bizarre that like all of this has happened just over calls and online. Like I had my first marketing meeting with the team recently, book release parties, events, etc. Doesn't look very likely, but hopefully I will be able to do lots of fun stuff online. I'll probably do some more themed videos around maybe book clubs and journaling and showing some more features of the journal. And if there's a lot of questions, maybe I'll do another Q&A. I think I've covered everything. It's still bizarre that this is here in person. I'm just kind of keeping it on my desk and I just like look at it from time to time. Working on things like this is always like equally stressful and exciting. I'm so happy I finally get to share this with you. Hopefully some of you will find this a helpful tool. After I did the book club in September, I got a message from one of the girls who was part of it and said that that group had actually continued the book club without me, and some of them had become friends, which is just so heartwarming. And I think any experience I've had where I've met up with people to discuss books has been such a lovely experience. I think also most of the ones I've been to, it was mostly people kind of coming by themselves and trying to find that connection, that conversation. And obviously that's one of the big reasons why we're all here, you know, in this video box on this website. I think that's all from me for now. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you soon. Doei!